Hey you guys, it's Sarah here and welcome to my channel DIY Busy Books. In this video, I just wanted to really quickly come on here and show you how I put together my Peekaboo Elmo activity page. I've already done a video on this a couple of years ago showing how I put it together. There's also a free printable PDF template I have available on my website. I'll link to that. But for those of you who have subscribed to my Patreon, I had posted this template and I never actually made a video specifically for you and showing you how I now make it to sell it, to make it quickly, efficiently, and profitably. And so I just wanted to quickly come on here and show you how I do that. If you stay tuned to the end, I'll also show you what the bulk template looks like that I share on my Patreon in both SVG and JPEG format. And I'll share the details of how much this page cost me to make, how long it takes me to make, and what I profit from it, which is normally something that I share exclusively on my Patreon. But if you're interested, to stay to the end and I'll share that on here. Okay, let's get started. I'm starting with, as always, an 8" by 8" sheet of felt. I have this felt available on my website. All the felt I'm using for the page and the pieces is my 1.2mm stiff Korean felt. I love that kind of felt. I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to take the Elmo neck piece. I'm just going to put that down, and the Elmo head piece, it'll overlap it a little bit, and I'm going to sew those two pieces down. Those two pieces are sewn on. I'm going to go ahead and hot glue 2 copies of the arm together, but I'm going to leave the bottom part not hot glued because I'm going to stitch that onto the page and I don't want to be stitching through hot glue. So I like to hot glue these pieces together for the arms, just because it adds a lot of stiffness and structure to the arms, which is the main part of what the kids are going to be playing with. But you can, if you don't want to use hot glue at all, you can just sew 2 pieces together. It'll still just add that thickness to the pieces, because I find that just 1 copy of the arm is not enough. So I always hot glue 2 of them together, leaving the bottom part unglued, and I will sew that right onto the shoulders so that the hands are covering Elmo's eyes. So I'll just do a stitch right there at the bottom. Next, I'm just going to hot glue on the details of Elmo's face. You can see that I've got those stitched on. Now, in my original video that I did, I used little brad pins and poked them through and made it so that the whole arms could rotate. So if you wanted to do that, you can. I don't make it that way anymore when I'm making and selling this, just because I ran out of brad pins and I didn't want to reorder them, and I still wanted to get this page made, and I like it just as much with it stitched on. So I'm going to go ahead and hot glue on the details of the face. I'll hot glue down the mouth and these 2 eyes, and the nose will overlap the eyes just a little bit, and then the 2 little black dots for the eyes. Alrighty, those are all of the details of Elmo's face hot glued on. The last thing I'm going to do is grab another 8" by 8" sheet of felt. This is the lower quality felt. I just buy this felt from Amazon. It's 1mm stiff felt. It's not a very nice quality. It's pretty thin, but I like to use it for the back sides of the pages because I always wrap them in cute fabric anyways. So because it's wrapped in fabric, I'm not worried about like the quality of the felt itself, and I just go with a lower cost option. And I'm just going to clip that onto my page. If you're new to my channel, this is how I make pages. I just make them single-sided so that customers can build a custom busy book. I use this 2 or 3mm felt, thick felt, and I just cut it out by hand using some scalloped fabric scissors, and I just cut it big enough to fit in between the front and the back side, and I'm going to go ahead and sew around the border. Okay, I've sewn around the whole border, and last but not least, I'm going to get my heavy-duty hole punch, and I'm going to put 2 holes into that binding piece, and then I use my binder rings to connect pages together when I am selling these in stores or at markets. That is how I make my busy books. So there is the Peekaboo Elmo page. Thanks so much, you guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you've got any questions, and stay tuned for checking out the template and the pricing. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Alrighty, and here's what the bulk template looks like that I share on my Patreon. This is what it looks like in my Cricut design space, but on my Patreon it is available in both the JPEG and the SVG formats. Let me show you. This is how it looks on my Patreon. I'm just editing the post right now to update it, but you get basically an image of the template itself as a color reference page, and then you can see here I share all of the 12" by 12" templates in black and white. That just makes the image more clearer and crisp and cleaner when you upload it into your design space. And so then you get the color reference page so that you know what colors to cut each one in. And then if you click on each of the photos in the captions, it will tell you how big to adjust the template to. They're all meant to fit on 12-inch by 12-inch cutting sheets, so they're all approximately that size, but they vary slightly. And then there's the description of how I put it together, details about pricing, and then below you will get the SVG files as well. So that's what it looks like on my Patreon. Let me just explain the template quickly. This template basically makes, I designed it to try to make 12 copies at once. This one will have some leftover pieces because not every one of these templates cuts exactly a perfect 12 amount. I'm okay with that. Normally when I'm designing my templates now, I try to make it so that there are no leftover pieces, because as a mom and as someone who is just doing this handmade out of their home, it's not ideal to have leftover pieces. I always save them for the next time that I make the page, but at the same time, sometimes having leftover pieces means that you have to find a place to store them and you have to keep track of them, and it can make your storage drawer in your craft room pretty messy if you get too many. But the thing with this Elmo is because Elmo is such a classic and everyone recognizes Elmo and it's a really great seller, I don't mind having some leftover pieces, and it's not too many to keep track of. So let me just explain how it works. When I make this, I tend to make 12 sets at a time. So you can see here with the Elmo heads, one cut on a red 12-inch by 12-inch sheet of felt will give you enough for 4 pages, like 4 copies of the Elmo head. So if I'm making 12 sets at a time, I'm going to cut this template out 3 times, and that will give me enough for 12. With this 12-inch by 12-inch template of the Elmo arms, one cut gives me enough for 1.5 pages. That means I have to actually cut this out 8 times, which is quite a bit, but 8 cuts of this template on a 12-inch by 12-inch sheet of red felt will give me enough for 12 pages. And of course, you don't have to make 12 pages all at once. That's just what I do personally, but you don't have to. Over here with this red copy, you get 12 copies of the Elmo neck or shoulder, whatever you want to call it. So just one cut gives you enough for 12 of those. And then for the white eyes and the black mouth and the black eyes and then the orange nose, I just filled the 12-inch by 12-inch sheet as much as possible. So as you can see, you get a lot more than just 12 copies of the nose. You get more than 12 copies of the mouth and eyes, and same with the white eyes. So when you cut those 3 out, you're going to have some leftover pieces. Again, I personally actually find that really helpful because I make this Elmo page so often for craft shows. Having those leftover pieces is really convenient. And then when I go to like do the cuts, it's just much less cutting. If I just want to make a few extra Elmo copies, I have the facial features already cut out. I just need to cut out the head and the arms and maybe the Elmo shoulder as well. Now, just a little context for pricing and the way that I price my things. If you haven't seen one of my videos about pricing before, I am in Southern Ontario in Canada. And just for some context, the minimum wage here for adults, I believe, is like $17. It's quite high. And so I try to make sure that I earn $20 an hour after the cost of materials. And also, I'm assuming that you're using stiff 1.2 millimeter Korean felt. There are cheaper felts out there, but that's what I personally use. It's the felt that I really like. It's really nice quality, and it tends to run about $2 per 12-inch by 12-inch sheet of felt. There are other lower quality, cheaper felts that you can use as well. Like you can just use Amazon stiff felt. Really, the pricing depends on what quality of felt you're using. When I'm pricing out the cost of these materials, I'm assuming you're using the best quality Korean 1.2 millimeter felt. So just keep that in mind. So here's the expenses to make one copy of the Elmo page. For all of the felt pieces that you need that you see here, that's going to be $2.50 in Canadian dollars. And just a little background, the way I figure that out is I take the number of cuts that I need to do to make 12 of these pages. So in this case, altogether, to make 12 pages, I need to do one of these cuts, one of these, one of these, one of these. Plus I need to cut this one out 3 times. Plus I need to cut these arms out on 8 different times. So on 8 sheets of felt. That's going to give me a total of 15 cuts or 15 sheets of 12-inch by 12-inch Korean felt that I need to make 12 of these pages. Each one of those 15 sheets of felt is $2. So that cost me $30 in felt fabric for all the pieces in order to make 12 copies of this page. So 30 broken up into 12 different copies works out to $2.50 each. So that's how I get the price of the felt pieces. I also assume that the hot glue is going to be about 10 cents. The thread to make this page is about 10 cents. The light blue 8" by 8" Korean felt sheet runs about 90 cents. And the back side of the page, like the lower quality of felt, plus the fabric, plus the binding piece, is about $1. So that right there brings me to $4.60. And then I also charge myself a Cricut mat replacement fee, because with the Cricut you have to keep replacing the mats as they wear out and as you use them over and over again. So I'm just going to say per page, I'll say the Cricut cutting mat fee, let's make it 40 cents, and that'll bring us to an even, simple $5 per activity page in the cost of the materials. Now, including all the cutting time and assembly time, assuming you are making these pages in bulk like I do, which is the most efficient and profitable way to do it if you're going to sell these, when I do that, I can put together typically about 5 of these pages in an hour. Let's go with just saying 4 pages in an hour, just to be conservative and to make sure that I am profiting enough from each of these pages. So let's assume I can make 4 of these in an hour, including all the cutting time and assembly time. That means that if I want to earn, say, $20 per hour, I would need to charge $10 per activity page. In reality, I tend to charge about $8 to $10 for this activity, depending on the location. If you are doing this, please charge whatever you feel comfortable with. Don't let my pricing really influence yours. I just share that for curiosity's sake. But you're going to live in a different location than me. You're going to have a different community. You're going to have different types of expenses. And so price it however you feel is fair for you. Okay, that's everything. Thanks so much, you guys. I'll see you in the next video.